Aloha again. It's go time for the RotoWire Rundown. I'm Keith Stewart from Read the Line. Of course, my counterpart, my partner in crime, Mr. Len Hochberg, the senior golf writer over at RotoWire, award-winning. Len, we're island hopping, you and I. First full field event of the year, 144 players, 8 million plus in the purse. And of all of that we have to discuss today, I need your reaction to Jason Day's outfits from the Century last week. You giving that a thumbs up or a thumbs down? I mean, everybody that watches the rundown, they need to know how you feel about his fashion sense.
His clothes were billowy, bigger. He might have outaged that wardrobe, but I give him high marks for staying youthful. How does that sound?
Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't look youthful, in my opinion, but that's what we're here to talk about. It is the first event of the season. No more wraparound calendar. Like I just said, 144 players are there. We have 33 guys that are there that have never played Wailea Country Club before. So it's time to talk about the Sony Open. No longer a signature, event to discuss like the Century. These are the ones that are really important because it's going to get the guys that are there in the middle part of the tour up into those premium events. And there's a lot of names, to be honest, that even I don't know, Len, but I know you do because you are the DFS guru and you have to know every name down in that 7K, 6K range. So break it down for everybody. Who are some of these new people and who should we have our eye on? Not just for the Sony or maybe Q1 for betting in 2024, but like, I don't know, this year? I mean, who's going to be the Eric Cole or the Ludwig Oberg this year?
I should know every name, but there are a lot of names. I believe, according to PGA Tour, there are 28 rookies, and their definition of rookies, is different than guys we might have just not seen or stuff. So there are 28 rookies, and it's not a great class in my estimation. And I think part of that is because we see the Ludwigs and the other guys who come out of college pick it up right in the previous season. They come out right in June. And so when the next season starts, the good ones have already been there and they're not eligible for Rookie of the Year. But I guess the top guy, and I hope I get this name right because it's a beautiful name, the 23-year-old Belgian out of the University of Illinois, Adrien Dumont de Choucher or something with flair. Anyway, he's a good player, and he might be the best of the bunch. He finished third in the PGA Tour University standings. Ludwig was number one. I believe Sam Bennett too. And then he went to the Korn Ferry Tour and won right away, was second, top tens. So he's probably the big name to look at. He's a little bit high price this week for me, or else I would have taken a flyer on him. He's up in the sevens. And then there are the Cootie brothers, Pearson and Parker, and I think a lot of us know them. We all know them. And Pearson probably the better of the two in the field this week. But after that, I think it's pretty light. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
You bring up a great point about that PGA Tour U. If that takes the cream of the crop and offers them their own card opportunity to go straight to the Korn Ferry, then if you're that good like Oberg and get right to the PGA Tour, I mean, that's going to kind of make this week with the new names that pop up probably not as deep as it used to be. And, I'm with you on Pearson Cootie. That was one of the names I would have mentioned. But when it comes to Cootie or any of the rest of these guys, right? What's it going to take to do well at Wailea Country Club? Well, a lot of times you and I, we talk about skill sets here, but there's a couple interesting trends because we're coming off the off season for, a third of the field. So, we've used Wailea Country Club, par 70, 7,000 yards, only 2 par 5s. We've been here since 1965 in the Sony Open, but there's some trends versus strokes gained that really catch my attention. 70% of the winners have played the Century the week before over the last 20 years. 16 of the last 17 Sony winners, right, have played Wailea Country Club before. The last 10, the average winning score, 18 under par. And when it comes to the betting part, my universe, right, it seems like over the last 10 years, the average pre-tournament winning odds are in those 4,000s range. So it's plus 4,900 is that average. And you look at last year with Siwoo, he came in the week at 40 to 1 or plus 4,000. What are you highlighting this week as far as building out your DFS card or your betting card?
Well, you make a couple of interesting points. One, that guys who play the Century come over from the Century and do well here and tend to win here. Well, that's twofold. One, they've got a little bit of the rust off after maybe 2 months off, and they've got 4 tournament rounds in, so they have a little bit of an edge there. Plus the fact they're better golfers because they're in the Century.
Yeah.
So that's a twofold thing. And the other thing about Wile, I mean, there is really from week to week, I don't know if we'll see a bigger 180 on what a golfer has to do to succeed as we do from Kapalua to Wile. We got the bomb, wide open fairways, bombs away, just hit it as far as you can, 477 Max Homa or whatever it was at Kapalua. And here you got to get the ball in the fairway. Last year, the top 15 guys on the leaderboard, none of them in the top 10 in driving distance. This is more of a chess match, getting from point A to point B. So, it's those are the things I'm looking for. Guys who can get the ball in the fairway. And, Siwoo Kim did a great job of that last year. He did not putt very well, but he was so good tee to green, he was able to win the tournament. Conversely, the year before, Hideki Matsuyama, the guy who we would think would be great tee to green, was pretty mediocre tee to green, but he led the field in putting. What is going on there? So there's really a couple of different ways to win. I mean, yeah, if you putt your lights out, you can always win a tournament. But basically, it's really getting the ball in the fairway, getting the ball in the green, and just, and taking advantage of the par fives. There are only 2 of them, but you pretty much got a birdie almost every one of them, as Siwoo Kim did last year. He had 7 birdies and an eagle. 9 of his 18 under came on those 2 holes.
Yeah, I tell you, this is like North Pole, South Pole, right? These courses are polar opposites. And I like what you brought up there about the par fives. But one of the things I'm really leaning on as far as my card is like, who's really good on those 12 par fours? 7 of the 12 are over 440 and they're tight. I mean, you have to be a really good ball striker to keep it in between the palm trees and then attack from right around 150 yards. Of course, once again, you have to be able to putt those Bermuda grass greens very well. I think that's historically why this is like the second most predictable course on the PGA Tour, and the only one in front of it's Augusta National. So that tells you that Wile is extremely predictive. And although I'm probably not going to roll out Matt Kuchar, people are going to want to know some names. So going forward, when it comes to the DFS strategy for this week, break it down for us. Start with the 10K, the premier guys that were probably at the Century. But I'm sure everybody's just dying to know who's down there in that 7K, 6K range for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm staying away from all the 10K guys. I think there are 3 of them, and that's Ludwig, it's Matt Fitzpatrick, and Tyrrell Hatton, and none of them has played this course before. And I think one of the things that we talked about earlier, you mentioned that the winners play this course multiple times before actually winning. You have to really figure out your way around the golf course. Now, that's not to say those 3 cannot do well and maybe finish top 10, but I don't think they'll win. And so I'm going into the 9s. Corey Connors, a great ball striker, great tee to green guy, not such a great putter. I mean, he could follow the lead of Siwoo Kim and to use that blueprint to win this week. He's played this tournament the last 5 years, or the last 5 times he's played it. He's finished no worse than 12th. Russell Henley, also in the 9s, former winner, was runner-up to Hideki 2 years ago. Again, great get the ball in the fairway guy, not the greatest putter. Chris Kirk has been great at this course. He knocked me over with a feather that he won at like 200 to 1 last week. If you would have said which Hawaii stop would he do better at, it would be this one. He was 3rd last year. He's been runner-up twice before. He's in the mid-9s. It's a question for me whether he can get off of cloud 9 for probably the biggest win of his career and get ready to play golf again just 4 days later. Moving into the 8s, Ben An, very interestingly, he had lost his card, came back last year, finished top 50, and we saw him break out a longer putter. last week at Kapalua, and it worked pretty well. He was, he finished in the top 5. And for him, if he can just make some putts, he can do really well. He's kind of highly priced, but I do like him in the 8s. Moving into the 7s, I do like Matt Kuchar. 7th, the last 2 years, winner in 2019. These guys who don't hit the ball a ton, these older guys who didn't grow up just hitting it as far as you can hitting it and going to chase the ball, who have to figure out, where do I place it in the fairway? Where do I land it on the green? These are the guys who can do well this week, Kuchar being one of them. Andrew Putnam, top 5, 2 of the last number of years, great putter. And now into the 6s. Hayden Buckley, 12th last year, 2nd last year to Siwoo Kim, 12th the year before when Hideki won. I'm not overthinking it. He obviously comes to this course, plays well. Nico Echevarria, 6,300. I like that he played last week. I like that he played well, top 25 last week. He was 12th here last year. And all the way down at 6,200, Justin Lauer, really low, Lauer. He's a guy who cannot compete really in a lot of courses because they're just too long for him. That's not the case this week. Once you can get the ball in the fairway, which he can do, he's pretty good on approach play, very good putter, 6,200. Look for him to make the cut, and he could be a good 6th in your lineup to get to the weekend.
Justin Lauer, I mean, there you go. Great Bermuda guy. Bermuda grass guy, great in Bermuda. That fits, maybe he's just an island guy, like the way Victor started his career out. And, as I get into the betting market, a couple of things, we're trying to pick winners here, and everyone keeps talking about Matt Kuchar. Well, if you want to go like 2nd generation Matt Kuchar, I mean, they live at the same place at Sea Island. I don't see why people aren't all over JT Poston this week. He was 5th last week at the Century. He's striking the ball as good as he ever has in his career, and he always rolls it good, and he rolls it good on Bermuda. So for me, I think that he is a must first click this week as far as an outright winner. Another guy, there's going to come a point where Eric Cole is going to win. And in an event where we have the Corey Connors and the Ludwigs around, you're going to get a little bit of a discount getting Eric Cole up in the 30s. And that's not going to happen in every event that he's going to play in. I mean, he goes to something like the new and improved Honda with Cognizant now the sponsor, and he's probably going to be one of the top 5 names on the board. I don't like that level of pressure for him. Coming off his Rookie of the Year season, 4 of his last, 5 top, starts have been top 4 finishes. I know he was 14th at the Century, but he was good. And people are going to say, well, he's like Keith, he's a little wild with the driver. Hey, he finished runner-up at the Zozo. And that place is a bowling alley. So I don't really want to hear about it. He doesn't have to press himself off the tee. He doesn't have to go long. Another one of those players who isn't extremely long, but is really good with a wedge and really good with his putter on Bermuda. And, there's a lot of talk always about defending. Can someone come back and defend? Well, Siwoo won last year, and his odds were 40-1. And he's come back this year, and his odds are 40-1 again. I'm thinking the books aren't necessarily that high on Siwoo, but if you want to bet right around that range, why wouldn't you take Chris Kirk? So forget defending. How about just back-to-back in general? I mean, that guy was as hot with a wedge and his putter as anybody could be in Hawaii last week. He had to, shoot 8 under the last day to win by 1? And I don't see him as the type of guy that's just going to then go hit the all-inclusive and take the week off. I think that he knows how good his history is there at the Sony, that he could back it up very quickly. He's great on the West Coast at the Amex and the future events. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, a little sprinkle there might go a long way. I get this question all the time. And as we close, Len, I just want to throw it out to you. The first 2 events of the year, right? You have so many names to go through and handicap on the DFS side, right? Give me 1 or 2 best practices that you use that you could share with our audience when you know that a majority of these guys haven't played since Sea Island, or maybe it was Bermuda. I mean, that's 6-7 weeks off. How do we know that they've been training, and how do you know who you're going to put your stock in this week at the Sony?
Well, the honest answer is we don't. We don't know what guys have been doing for the past 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and who's been training, and who's been eating Thanksgiving dinner for, and then Christmas dinner, and then we heard that Chris Kirk had really been working out and been doing a lot of things, and we didn't know that. And maybe if we knew that, somebody would have, as you say, sprinkled a few shekels on him, more than we did. But we don't, and that's why some of the rookies and stuff. Excuse me, getting over a cold. Some of the rookies, I'm taking a back seat on them. We just don't know where they are right now. Mentioned Dumont de Choussard. I like him, but I'm going to take a wait and see on him, and I'm going to go with more guys who I know what they've done and where they are, and then we'll see next week at the Amex. May have to rejigger my thinking.
Yeah, I'm with you too. When I have to answer that question, I'm going primarily with Wailea history. I'm going with some guys like a Corey Connors, that at the end of the day, you know that their ball striking is going to get them through this, and that you can put them on your card. And it's the beginning of the season. We need some time to see who the thoroughbreds are going to be, and who maybe has to find it come Magnolia Lane time. I mean, that's the beauty of all these big events coming at us so early in the season, is that it really kind of forces the hand of the guys on the PGA Tour to get their season started, and it helps all of us handicap. So, I love the beginning of the year. And guess what, folks? If you love the rundown, please share it with some of your wagering friends, because Len and I, we love talking to each other, but we love talking to our audience too. We'll be back next week as the PGA Tour hits the mainland for the American Express. Between now and then, I'm Keith Stewart, alongside the RotoWire's award-winning scribe and pundit, Mr. Len Hochberg. Len, have a wonderful week. I hope that your DFS strategy works out at the Sony, and I'll see you in a week, my friend. Take care.
Have a great week, Keith.